Hey everybody, welcome to Rocky. Look at him, he's coming to say hi. He's just gonna be chilling on my lap then. Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. We're gonna do this. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about first looks. And if you don't know what a first look is, basically what it is on your wedding day, instead of waiting to see your significant other down the aisle, whether you're the bride or the groom, you will see them actually before that for the first time. I'm assuming most everybody has heard about this concept by now. It's been around for years. It's actually gotten super popular, and I would say, if I'm being honest, that a lot of couples are kind of choosing to go back to the traditional route of not seeing the bride until she comes down the aisle. So since it is kind of 50-50 for couples who do a first look and couples who don't do a first look, nowadays I feel like it's kind of made it a harder decision for couples to decide if they want to do it or not. So I thought that I would make this video especially for my couples, but really for any couple out there who maybe wants a little bit of a deeper perspective from somebody who has been to so many weddings and who has seen both sides of first looks and not first looks. Okay, so before we kick this off, I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible. I know that's gonna be impossible because one, I'm a wedding photographer, and two, I'm also married. So I've had a wedding and I've experienced it myself. So I'm gonna be biased in some ways, but I'm gonna try and like make it a level playing field for doing a first look and for not doing a first look, so you can really decide if it's something you want to do. I definitely think that I used to kind of pressure my couples into doing a first look, but now I just really want it to be their decision because it is such a special moment whether you do one or you don't do one, and so I never want to take that away from them. So I'm gonna do my best and try and be completely honest, lay it all out there, and then hopefully just make your decision on doing a first look or not a little bit easier. So first I want to talk a little bit about not doing a first look, just because that's what I actually did at my own wedding, January 6, 2018. I got married to my husband. Fun fact, I was actually only 19 years old when I got married, so I don't know if that means anything, but I think I love being married young, and I love being married and being able to share that experience with my couples. All that to say, I want to get started off with that story and why we did not do a first look at our wedding. So like I said, my husband and I, we got married in January, which is in Pennsylvania, where we got married. Very cold. We actually had snow a few days before our wedding, and not that that really has anything to do with doing a first look or not, but we did decide to have a wedding ceremony earlier in the day. I believe it was probably maybe even about like 12 or 1 p.m. The reason we decided to do it earlier in the day though was because we knew that the sun would be setting early and we wanted to do our pictures before the sunset. Looking back, I always wonder, you know, if we had a ceremony at like 3 or 5 p.m., you know, kind of like a typical time, I always wonder if we would have done a first look, because we definitely wanted to get a lot of pictures, but at the same time we are super traditional, and so I don't know, I really don't know what we would have done. Another reason that for us not doing a first look worked really well was because our ceremony and our reception were at two different places. So right after the ceremony, we almost immediately went into like our send-off from the church, and so we left the church right away and got to the reception area super fast. But on the other hand, all of our guests were still able to kind of mingle around at the church, talk to each other, and then take their time to get over to the reception spot, which was at a country club about 15 minutes down the road. If they wanted, we even encouraged them if they wanted to grab a bite to eat or something like that, since they may or may not have had lunch at that point. So for us, it really worked out because our guests didn't have to wait around that long. There was always something for them to do, and then in addition to that time that they spent just moseying around, getting to the reception area, we also had a full cocktail hour. So for us, by the time cocktail hour was over, there was like a 2-hour time period, and my husband and I, we were actually able to go into our cocktail hour for about 20 minutes, which most couples don't get to do, especially if they don't have a first look. So for us, we just it just worked out really good with our timeline, because we had our early ceremony and because our ceremony and reception were in 2 different places. It really worked out for us. And I'm gonna be honest, it is the more traditional route to not see the bride until she walks down the aisle, and I do think that is really sweet, and my husband was pretty adamant about that. Even to this day, he's like, we would have never done a first look. All that to say, before I move on to why a first look would be a great idea and the pros of a first look, is that it definitely has to be a mutual decision. I can promise you this, that if one of you doesn't want to do a first look, but the other one, you know, almost like forces them to do it, then it's not gonna be a good experience, and at that point you should have just not done the first look and waited to go down the aisle, because the other person probably won't have as good of an experience doing the first look if they really didn't want to do it. Okay, so now on to scenarios why I think you probably would want to do a first look. So the most common scenario of why you would want to do a first look is if you are having a ceremony later in the day and there's not going to be any natural light for your couple portraits. Now, I am a wedding photographer, so obviously I am definitely biased for this one, but I think it's a very valid point, especially considering how much money you are going to spend on your wedding photographer. So assuming you have invested a lot into your photographer and you've spent the time with them before the wedding, planning with them, getting to know them, and really trusting them with their photography process, and really trusting them to get beautiful images for you. If your ceremony is, let's say, at 5 p.m., just because that's a normal time and that's kind of when people associate sunset with, if your ceremony is at 5 p.m. and you don't do a first look, I'm gonna be totally honest that you're only gonna have probably about 15 to 20 minutes for pictures of you and your spouse. I know, it sounds like a long time, but 20 minutes goes by like that. If you want to get multiple locations for your pictures, forget about it. After the ceremony, you are going to have to take all of the family formals because you haven't seen each other before, so you have to wait to take all of those. You have to take all of the wedding party photos, and then you also have to take all of the couples photos, and then most couples want to get into the reception within about an hour because they'll have a cocktail hour after the ceremony, and you're not going to get to enjoy your cocktail hour, and you're going to feel super rushed taking all your portraits. You're going to get so many more portraits if you do a first look. I'm totally honest, it's a lot better when you do a first look for that sake. Another scenario where you would want to do a first look is if you are having a winter wedding, because the sun is going to set a lot earlier, and even if you do your ceremony at like 5 p.m., that's like when the sun sets, and so you're gonna miss the beautiful golden hour sunlight, and you might even have to take all your pictures indoor with flash, which is okay, but I know a lot of couples want natural light photography, especially my couples. They want that light, that bright, joyful photography. Another reason that you would want to do a first look, and I kind of touched on this with the first point, is that it's just a lot less stressful. So if you feel like you and your partner are people who are going to be really stressed out, maybe you're going to be really worried about things getting done, maybe you think that your family is going to really stress you out during family portraits, that would be another great reason to do a first look. Because if all of your family is there about like an hour and a half to an hour before the wedding, we can do all of them then, or at least knock most of them out, and then just do some with like grandma and grandpa, maybe the more extended family right after the ceremony, and we can do it in like 10 minutes. Another reason that you might want to do a first look if your ceremony is later in the day is because, think about this, on your wedding day, you're probably going to get up at like 6, 7, 8 a.m. and immediately start getting ready, hanging out with your girls, just having a really good morning. And you're gonna get ready, the photographer's gonna show up, she's gonna start taking pictures of you and your girl, she'll start taking pictures of the guys, and then you're just, you know, now what? You have to wait literally the whole day from like 7 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. to see your significant others. So if you're wanting to really have experience the wedding day with your partner, then you can have a first look. You guys can see each other after you get ready, hang out, all your friends together. and then just part ways before the ceremony for a little bit, and then have that special moment down the aisle. And then lastly, kind of going off that point I just talked about, is you may want to do a first look if you just want to have a private moment with your partner. And I think this one is the most special way to look at it, and the way that I try to present it to my couples. With a first look, you are guaranteed that alone time with your spouse, or your soon-to-be spouse. You're guaranteed that, and I'm not gonna lie, most couples aren't guaranteed that on their wedding day, besides maybe that 15 to 20 minutes right after the ceremony, when we are trying to get through all of the pictures of you two. And if you're worried about not getting the reaction from your groom down the aisle, I'm gonna tell you that has never happened, where a couple has done a first look and the groom has, we'll say, suffered because of that. Honestly, if anything, grooms that are more nervous about the wedding day, doing a first look often calms their nerves. And so then when they are standing at the end of the aisle watching you, they just feel more calm and able to soak in the moment. But then again, like I said, I didn't do a first look, and that moment walking down the aisle really was amazing, and my husband bawled his eyes out, and I know that he loved having that first look of me down the aisle. I know he loved that. So I also don't want to, you know, say that it's not good not doing first look, you know? So I really could go on and on about first looks and the pros and the cons of them. Really, I just hope that this maybe gave you some clarity of different scenarios, reasons why you might want to do it. And if you are one of my couples, or not even one of my couples, you can reach out to me if you want more information about it, a little bit more about my experience and the experience that I've seen from my couples. But I will tell you that doing a first look, as long as you are both in agreement and are coming at it from the perspective of having an additional moment and not trying to take away from the aisle moment, but instead adding a moment of being alone together and being able to just hug each other and breathe together for just a moment alone. I think if you can come at it with that approach, it really makes it special, and you don't have to worry about it taking away from the aisle moment. Let me know in the comments if you did a first look at your wedding. I'd love to hear your experience. If you didn't do a first look at your wedding, I'd want to hear yours too. And you can also head over to my blog on my website, www.lauraeddyphotography.com, and you can read a little bit more about why I did a first look, why I think other couples could do a first look, and read a little bit more about that. And I think Rocky's coming. Come here, Rocky. Rocky's coming to say bye-bye, and thanks for watching. But thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know what other videos you'd like to see. I want to do some tips and more advice videos and planning videos for my couples to help them have the best day ever. Thank you all so much again for watching, and we'll chat soon. Bye.